Hey folks, welcome back to Grand Adventure. I'm your host, Mark Guido, and on this episode we are camping between Boulder and Escalante, down in southern Utah, within the Grand Staircase-Escalante National Monument. This is an absolutely fascinating area that we're excited to share with you on this episode, so stay tuned. In the 1940s, the National Park Service studied this area of southwestern Utah and identified the Aquarius Plateau and Escalante River Basin as, and I'm quoting here from the report, a little known but potentially important recreation area. Ironically, it's still that way today. The land within Grand Staircase-Escalante National Monument, declared by President Bill Clinton in 1996, is among the most remote in the lower 48. In fact, it was the last area in the contiguous United States to be mapped. The Grand Staircase refers to an immense sequence of sedimentary rock layers that stretch south from Bryce Canyon National Park all the way to the Grand Canyon. And the Million Acre National Monument is administered by the BLM as part of the National Conservation Land System. We're visiting the northeast corner of the National Monument, camping on Little Spencer Flat between the remote towns of Escalante and Boulder, off Utah State Route 12, which connects Bryce Canyon and Capitol Reef, two of Utah's mighty 5 national parks. Highway 12 is incredibly scenic along its entire length, but no stretch is more so than heading south from the town of Boulder towards our camp, where it climbs onto the Hogback, a narrow spine with unprotected 800-foot drops into deep canyons on either side. Final construction of the present Highway 12 into Boulder was first completed in 1940, although the road was not completely paved until 1971. South of the Hogback, Route 12 crosses the Escalante River before again climbing onto broad expanses of sandstone. Spencer Flat Road is a poorly graded dirt road that heads south off of Route 12. Most RVs, however, should be able to negotiate the first few miles of this road with little difficulty, and the BOM has actually marked specific boondocking sites. We're camped on Little Spencer Flat, less than 2 miles from the asphalt surface of the state road. There are no ground fires permitted at campsites along the Spencer Flat Road. So for this trip, we've picked up an Outland 18-inch portable propane fire bowl on sale at our local Costco for $79. We're really impressed with its performance. And while we prefer a real campfire, this will make a satisfying alternative when we're camping under fire restrictions. For this trip, we're carrying a separate 20-pound tank, but we'll pick up a separate hose to be able to connect the fire bowl to our trailer's onboard propane on future trips. So just a few miles from camp is the National Monuments Calf Creek Recreation Area, which is home to the Calf Creek Campground, try saying that 3 times fast, but also the trailhead to Lower Calf Creek Falls. Let's go take a hike that I've been meaning to do for a whole bunch of years. So as you can see, this is a hike where the rewards are very, very worthy. It's also a very easy hike. It's only about 3 miles each way from the parking lot to the falls with very little up and down. It's mostly flat as it follows Calf Creek in from the parking lot. It does get busy on a Saturday. There's some large groups on the trail today, and it's a $5 fee, day use fee for parking at the trailhead. But it is well worth every little bit of it. What a spectacular place. Just south of the Calf Creek trailhead, Kiva Coffee House was created in the middle of what's now the Grand Staircase-Escalante National Monument by artist, mentor, contractor, inventor, and engineer Bradshaw Bowman. The structure was completed from logs, stone, and glass in June of 1998. Bowman opened his coffee house at the young age of 87, and his legacy continues today, with rich coffee and a selection of food served with amazing views of the Escalante Canyon. As mentioned, we're camped between the towns of Escalante and Boulder. With around 800 residents, Escalante is the larger of those two towns, and is named for Silvestre Velez de Escalante, a Franciscan missionary and member of the first European expedition into southern Utah in 1776, trying unsuccessfully to find a route from Santa Fe, New Mexico, to the missions of California. The name was suggested by Western explorer John Wesley Powell to honor Escalante, even though the Dominguez Escalante expedition never actually set foot in the Potato Valley that's now home to the town. The Escalante River canyons have been a major barrier to east-west vehicular travel in the region throughout modern history. Much of the history and the present recreation access to the area is associated with early attempts to pioneer routes across the river and through the canyons. It's so remote, Boulder did not even get electric power until 1947. Today, the town is home to only about 200 people and just a handful of businesses. Among those businesses is the Hell's Backbone Grill, a true anomaly in this tiny town that enjoys one of the highest Zagat ratings in Utah and was selected as a James Beard Award semifinalist in 2017 and again in 2018. The Hills and Hollows Market is the only small grocery in Boulder. Here you'll find fresh greens and frozen organic items, snacks for the trail, and all the staples you could imagine. The first vehicular road built into Boulder was the Hell's Backbone Road, constructed by the Civilian Conservation Corps in the 1930s. It was a seasonal road that went up onto the Aquarius Plateau and back down to Escalante, and could not be maintained in winter. Thus, in wintertime, mail continued to be delivered to Boulder via mule into the 1940s, when the first version of the current Highway 12 was built. The Hell's Backbone Road begins quite ordinarily enough. Soon, however, its route becomes rather improbable. Eventually, the Hell's Backbone Road follows a spectacularly illogical path that gives the road its name.
I'm Mike Green. I am the grandson of Freeman Green. I'm just up here driving Hell's Backbone because he helped build this road in 1933. It was during the Depression. They were farmers, and because he had a team, he was able to get $1 a day for his labor, and they paid him $1 a day for his team. And so he felt like he was a very wealthy man, and this was a huge blessing for him to be able to make $2 a day during the summer of '33. And he got married. They had their first child in '32, so this was a big part of their family's life.
Kind of came in handy, huh?
Yeah, kind of came in handy. So anyway, just came to kind of pay homage to Grandpa.
Have you seen it before, the road?
I have not driven this before. This is my first time over Hell's Backbone.
We're now heading down the Hole in the Rock Road, beneath the straight cliffs that mark the eastern end of the Kaiparowitz Plateau. In 1879, Mormons from the St. George area answered the calling of their church to settle in the southeastern corner of Utah at present-day Bluff in the San Juan River Basin. Since no direct wagon routes connected the two regions, they built a road heading southeast from Escalante. When they reached the Colorado River, they found it laying 1,800 feet below where they stood. Undeterred, they blasted a trail down the steep crevice they called Hole in the Rock, and successfully lowered 83 wagons down the 25 to 45% grade. Today, depending on conditions, the 55-mile Hole in the Rock Road is either the dirt road equivalent of a freeway, as it is today, or the world's longest washboard. But we're not heading today to Hole in the Rock, or even one of the numerous slot canyons accessed by this road. We're here to see Devil's Garden. Devil's Garden is a protected area featuring hoodoos, natural arches, and other sandstone formations. The formations in the Devil's Garden were created and continue to be shaped by various weathering and erosional processes, wearing down sandstone layers formed more than 166 million years ago, during the Jurassic period's Middle Epoch. The proximity of the nearby Aquarius Plateau makes the Boulder and Escalante area somewhat unique, in that you can find a variety of different elevations and climate zones in such a short distance. Just a few miles north of Boulder, Highway 12 climbs to over 9,600 feet, leaving the desert behind and replacing it with aspen trees, towering ponderosa pines, and even some remaining patches of last winter's snow. There are a number of Forest Service campgrounds up here, and numerous forest roads upon which to boondock. You can be hiking in the desert in the morning, in mountains and forest lakes in the afternoon. So like we said in the beginning of this video, this is an absolutely fascinating area to explore. Now, because we only came down for the weekend, we were only able to barely scratch the surface. There are all kinds of things to come back for. Numerous slot canyons to hike, take a trip down the hole in the wall above Lake Powell. We will definitely be back, hopefully sooner rather than later, and we hope that you'll be with us when we do return to Grand Staircase-Escalante National Monument. So if you're not yet a Grand Adventurer now's the time to smash that little red subscribe button down there in the corner and ring that notification bell. It is extremely important to us to give us a thumbs up if you like this video. We air new outdoor adventure travel videos each and every Wednesday. So we would be honored if you shared Grand Adventure with your friends, family, and on social media. We always love to hear from you in the comments section down below each video. And until next week, please remember, life is nothing but a grand adventure. We'll see you soon.